I'm Lisa Starr, and this is Natural Time, the YouTube version of my podcast that comes out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday pretty routinely on like Spotify and Apple, iTunes. So check it out if you only know me from here. It's all fun, it's all free, it's all part of this spiritual walk that I'm so committed to, and I've been on for almost 26 years. It's pretty exciting because I haven't committed to anything else for the same length of time. I'm a mom, but they left home when they were like 18, so the commitment lesson. But when it comes to this spiritual walk and talking about it and being some kind of teacher, that's just held in place for so long, and I'm so grateful. So I did a regular audio only podcast today, and this is sort of adjunct, and it's very current. I'm going to try to talk about the calendars here with current events in mind, because I often am teaching here from a more nebulous place and just trying to tell you, like, this is the cycle and these are some of the attributes of it that we can look to from the original Mayan teachings. And I feel all that and I'll weave it in, but this is the day after Donald Trump was exposed to an assassination attempt, and his assassination attempt happened on a white rhythmic world bridger day. We're in the first wave spell of the Tzolk'in, the 260-day Mayan calendar that is really the most important calendar that you can follow if you're interested in Mayan spirituality. It is based on gestation in the womb, and so it takes us out of like attaching time to moving through outer space and feeling time more as something that is about growth and emergence and creation and birth in our own bodies, whether it's like replicating that each of us sat in the womb for about 260 days, or some of us women have had children that started in the womb for 260 days. Like, it's really important to everyone because it's our origin story. But the Maya just adhered to that sort of sacred relevance and kept us cycling through one gestation period after another. So I'm going to talk about how we're in the beginning of it. The first 13 days is called the Red Dragon Wave Spell of Birth. And so what is happening now for each of us in our sort of personal autonomous lives, as well as our collective experience in our societies or our globe, both are representing like new beginnings and having things like rise up and be present that are really important as the starting point for whatever we need to learn for the ensuing days of this 260-day calendar. So anyway, Donald Trump is a blue electric hand, and Joe Biden is a white lunar world bridger. And in the Tzolk'in, they're both born in the red serpent wave spell, which is why they're both really good at surviving, come what may. They're definitely survivors. Like, they've been trodden upon and risen back up. They were born within a wave spell, and they have a representational role. Their birth astrology supports the basic premise of red serpent, which includes being really good at surviving near-death experiences, literal and non-literal, metaphorical, but also that kind of like feistiness, which I attribute when I'm just watching them as like grumpy old man, angry old man, tetchy old man, those hostilities. They probably have each had them their whole lives, because there is something very reactive and like red serpent is sort of that like hissing and the hood of the serpent coming up instead of maybe reasoning with things on an emotional level. Who's to say? Joe Biden, just to finish some of the astrological portrayals of these figureheads, is a lunar person. So if you push at him and say, you're too old, he will come back with the opposite view. That's sort of the lunar gaze of lunar people and lunar days, is seeing the opposition and like the shadow where there's light, and the good where there's bad, and the bad where there's good, and the light where there's shadows. So if you say to Joe Biden sort of unanimously, like, you're too old, he'll say, I'm not, I'm wise, I'm learned, I'm needed, I'm absolutely irreplaceable because of my years. And I don't know what would happen if everyone just revered him. Like, he seems to soften and have a lot of humility when he's not pushed from a place of hostility, as I personally have felt hostility towards him lately. So he's lunar, therefore he goes around with a question in mind, like, what is the challenge? What is the challenge? And I think what he's sort of telegraphing now is like, the challenges are too great for someone who doesn't know how to solve challenges. I mean, I can't comment on what would be the best outcome because I'm not in control of it. So the next day, the day after Joe Biden's astrology and birth, not literally because they're a few years apart, but within the Zolkin, the next day is Blue Electric Hand. It's one stage further. It's not what is my challenge isn't the question. The question for an electric person born on an electric day is, how can I best be of service? And riddle me this, like, I can't fathom that Donald Trump is walking around trying to be of service, but I think that he is, whether he's trying or conscious of it or not. Or maybe we just misunderstand him from the outside, that he really, really is trying to be of service. He's impelled to. He just doesn't come from a family or culture where being helpful is overtly accepted or expected. So he's being really helpful in a subversive way to his own, experience. But he is about healing and serving. Go figure. I want to point out that they're both portal people. They were born on portal days, and so they also represent being portals. Today is the first day of a 41-day arc representing Donald Trump's tribe, the Blue Hand tribe. Today is Blue Resonant Hand, and it's calling in 20 days from now, the Blue Hand wave spell will begin. It will last for 13 days, and then, it goes for 13 days, and 7 days after that, we come to Blue Galactic Hand, which is 40 days from now, and that's sort of the end of the Blue Hand's rise. And each tribe has this book-ended 40-ish day time period where it's like, woo, it's all about Blue Hand for 40 days. In the background, other tribes will have their, roles, but it's sort of like truly like whoosh, like a rainbow in the sky, that kind of arc. Like, here comes Blue Hand slowly from, the distance, then it's right here in front of us. We're experiencing it directly, and then it recedes, and there's sort of a remnant moment where we say goodbye to it and integrate it into whatever wave spell we're working through. So this is it, the eve of Donald Trump's 40-day window. He had a near miss of death, but even though it was a day about organizing death, it was the death of limitations, I guess. It wasn't the death of a person. I said in my other audio format, I'll say it very cursorily here, that a white world bridger day does sort of represent Joe Biden. And so I think there is something prophetic about on a white world bridger day, almost like think of it as arrows instead of automatic machine gun type instruments, like Joe Biden. The energy field of Joe Biden offered an arrow to vanquish his foe, and it just grazed him. It certainly didn't disarm, disable, or extinguish him. So in Joe Biden's moment of kind of energetic clarity and his essence is dominant and it's a homecoming to himself, Donald Trump wasn't vanquished. And I think that is prophetic. So just to that end, I think that was interesting. I certainly am not implying that Joe Biden had anything to do with the shooting at all. I don't even think anyone was inspired on Joe Biden's behalf to go and to do that. I just mean it was the energy field, interestingly, right, offered up this particular moment and choice that this young man made was in Joe Biden's tribe. Okay, so that's collective astrology, and I use my astrology inclinations and my intuition all the time in this way. I definitely use the astrology we pass through to look at my own life. I do. I'm really self-centered, and I like to think about my own life through the astrological lens. But I also like to look at bigger circles of movement and human experience using it as well. So that's offered to you if it's interesting. Trying to speak to your experience right now, I just want to remind us that it's the red dragon wave spell of birth, and each one of us is looking at our own experience with motherhood, whether it's with our mothers, our history with our mothers, maybe not directly at our mothers, or maybe directly, or maybe more about, how was my childhood with my mother? How was I mothered? And it doesn't have to be about her caricature or personality as much as the impact mothering had on me. And then a lot of us are mothers, and so that would be like the inverse is true. You might be interacting with your own children and determining more about what they're really looking for or needing right now from you as a parent. Both if your children are in your home or if your children aren't. Just if you're a mother, that is. I think of that sort of as specific to those of us who are mothers. And then there's our relationship to the Divine Mother. And I was explaining in my audio podcast that I do not have a female divinity. I'm not Christian, so I can't call in like Mother Mary as some kind of adjunct to the whole Jesus and Yahweh profile. My sense of divinity has a lot of masculine energy, but I would describe it more like raw, mythological, like lightning god, whether it's Zeus or Thor, and it's all projection because I'm a blue overtone storm. So my god head is somehow like me, but really, really big. And I think that my power or presentation in life, I'm tall, sort of Amazonian person, is kind of on the masculine end of the spectrum in terms of our preconceptions about strength and temperament. And so I don't have a feminine divine. Like I don't find this to be a time where I'm connecting to feminine matriarchal divinity. But I am, right? We all are. And you might be doing it more effectively or easily than I am. Like it's an easier direct line for you. But even if I don't think I am, or I don't cognate it, it's happening on some level. This is the time of the Divine Mother. Yeah, so we're only on day 7. So I'm going to use this sort of podcasty moment to kind of pivot in my mind and try to pay more attention to what is Divine Feminine doing. Like if you go back to society, I mean, maybe to have Trump's assassination attempt be some kind of weird, close call, like so close that it's like his ear, but not his brain. Like that is really close. And so I do feel like, oh, I could see how that's matriarchy. The divine goddess has a peaceability or a healing nurturance and doesn't want it to be a direct target and to have that kind of bloodshed and acrimony. I could see that. I'll look in my own life. The other thing that I really would focus on is the second half of the calendars I follow, especially when I'm doing my audio podcast. I try here to keep things simple and talk mostly about the 260 days Zolkin, but There are two primary Mayan teachings that we follow through calendrics here in natural time and anything I teach. There's the Zolkin, a 260-day sacred count based on gestation in the womb, not stars in space so much. But then there is our tracking of the Earth's orbit around the sun, which is what a year represents. And we begin our year in the Mayan legacy on July 26th. So it's coming right up. This is the very final week and a half before we start a new year, a new 13-month year, or 13-moon year. And the 13-moon year is a wave spell, just the same way we move through 13-day wave spells. They're identical, they're just of different lengths. And we also have 13-year wave spells, just to be clear. So the 13 moons of the year have names that are the same as the 13-day tones: magnetic, lunar, electric, self-existing, overtone, rhythmic, resonant, galactic, solar, planetary, spectral, crystal, and cosmic. And we are in the cosmic moon of the 13 moons. We're in the 13th. Clearly, we're at the end here, 28 days long. We're on day 18. So just 10 days until the end of the year, and finishing out a year in the cosmic moon is described as enduring and transcending presence. And just a really good reminder that the finishing stage in these calendars, and therefore in Mayan spiritual practice, is just being with what is and feeling really vast. You know, being with what is doesn't mean being with me on the screen in front of you. It means feeling the amplification of existence to be as vast as the entire cosmos that we perceive or physically see when we're looking at the night sky, or the sun, which is so far away and so ginormous. But if we pay attention to it in the daytime as not just like an orb of heat, but like, what, that is this amazing sort of apocryphal fireball millennia away, those grand ideas of space, that's pretty cosmic. That determines that our existence is part of this vast scale that is one with the cosmos, of the cosmos, ergo cosmic. So cosmic isn't just like a surfer vernacular, I'm California New Age lady, it's so cosmic. It's more literal, like cosmic means of the cosmos. So in the time that is cosmic, this cosmic moon, it's a time we explore being part of it all, instead of just relational with a handful of humans, or even in a society or the global population of humans, but not just the animals and minerals either, but like the whole star systems and vastness of galaxies. And we don't have to like geek out on that science of astronomy during the cosmic time, but I think it's possible to experience your spirituality as something that lives out in the vastness of space, that it's that big. And so the cosmic time, when it's 28 days long, that's a real indulgence, and we can learn and live deeply into its teaching. The cosmic time is a pause in the limitation of a human field of existence on Earth, and encompasses really that once you leave the Earth, because we all really, unless we're astronauts, just leave the Earth when we die. If we leave the Earth, or are allowed to have our perception be broader than this Earth realm, then we're only running into the power of a divine realm, the heavens. So that's the gift of the cosmic time, and I love it. Yeah, my struggles currently, my personal struggles, are very much collective level, just grappling with and geeking out on political maneuvers and fate that might feel it holds for a bunch of people. But in my own personal life, things are pretty placid. And that's how I tend to experience the cosmic tone, that it really is a gift of placidity. And placidity isn't passivity, it isn't denial. Placidity is when things aren't turgid or disrupted, they're placid and peaceful. So that's nice. All right, I just wanted to touch in and give you some up-to-date astrological information on the workings of Western civilization. Maybe it's non-directional, of civilization. I'm Lisa Starr. I am another yourself, and in Mayan we say, in Lakesh.